The Biology behind Bonsai Trees. Und auf dem Thumbnail war in Klammern Torture. Ich mag auch Bonsai-Bäume.
Nearly everyone likes bonsai trees.
Miniature trees, how could you not love them?
They're pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it I think is just like this contact with nature. You know, we're talking about little miniature trees. So it's a combination of horticulture and art.
Yet, there seems to be a lot of misconceptions around them.
I heard people say that they all came from seeds that were irradiated by the bombs that were dropped in Japan.
I would guess it would be some sort of breeding program to stunt their growth, but I have no idea.
Also kannst du nicht aus allem einen Bonsai machen? Bonsai ist einfach nur Miniature, oder nicht?
What's even more of a mystery, even within the bonsai community, is the science behind bonsais.
You know, even as a lifetime bonsai artist, I don't fully know the science behind it. I mean, I have an idea of how it works, but I can't fully explain it.
And the answer isn't what you think.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I never knew that. But it makes total sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll get this one. Like many Asian traditions, the art of bonsai originated in China.
Bonsai, the word bonsai is literally a Japanese word. It means tree in a tray. It was brought to Japan from China and then refined in Japan and then bastardized throughout the rest of the world. This is Kimura Bonsai Nursery in Northridge, California.
What's your name?
I'm Bob Pressler. I'm the owner, president, chief artist, chief weed puller, guy that writes the checks. You name it, I do it.
And how long have you been in the bonsai industry?
I've been growing bonsai since I was 10, so that's 53 years.
What are some of the common misconceptions of bonsai trees?
All kinds. That the wire and stuff we put on them tortures them. That they're houseplants. That's probably the biggest misconception. They're cute. They're cute little trees sometimes, and people think that they grow them indoors, and unfortunately they can't. You name it, there's a lot of ideas about bonsai out there that aren't really too accurate.
A bonsai tree is just a normal tree manipulated to become a miniature. Bonsais are not genetically dwarfed. That means if you take a seed from a bonsai and plant it, it's going to grow up to be a normal tree. Theoretically, any tree can become a bonsai, but some do better than others.
Some people think that they're genetically dwarfed trees, and occasionally we'll use one like that, but not really. We make full-size trees smaller.
So what would happen if you were to take, let's say, an old bonsai tree and plant it in the ground and stop taking care of it?
See that tree that's sticking out over the roof there? That used to be a bonsai tree.
In a pot?
In a pot.
Get out.
That was weed,
Get out.
And I put it in a bigger pot, and it rooted into the ground, and then it just got too big, and I just said, to hell with it.
The goal of bonsai is to make a miniature tree look fully mature, and that's where the art form becomes unique.
Number one, we want to keep them small. So proportions are probably the single biggest factor that keeps them looking like real trees. It doesn't matter if it's 2 inches tall or 2 feet tall or 4 feet tall. If everything's in proportion, it'll look like a real tree.
Every tree is supposed to tell a story of age, and bonsai artists are able to accomplish that by using a few techniques.
First of all, pruning away stuff we're not going to use, a lot of extra branches and stuff like that. It also keeps them small. All the wire is used for is to shape and position branches and sometimes trunks. We use the wire to kind of like bend the branch into position or move it down or up and then hold it in that place until it decides to stay there. Yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff to them. I mean, you can bend branches this big and they just seem to shrug it off if you do it the right technique at the right time. We prune the roots. We take them out of the pot, cut the roots sometimes in half. The whole thing restricts nutrients. It's in a small pot. Most of the soil mix we use is pretty inorganic, so there's like no nutrients in the soil itself. So we give them enough to stay healthy and thrive, but not so much that they want to outgrow their growing conditions.
What's remarkable is as the tree receives less nutrients, all growth begins to slow down. The trunk grows smaller rings and the leaves miniaturize drastically. Also, the leaves are miniature as well.
The leaves
So
are,
sweet.
but the fruit and flowers aren't. Restricting the nutrients in the size of the pot restricts the size that the leaves can get to.
Jetzt habe ich auch Bock auf Bonsai. Gibt's da so ein Set, was man sich holen kann?
You know, even as a lifetime bonsai artist, I don't fully know the science behind it. I mean, I have an idea of how it works, but I can't fully explain it.
The answer lies in something called the apical meristem. Apical, coming from the word apex, meaning highest point, and meristem coming from its meristematic cells, also known as stem cells. These regions are stem cells found at the tips of the shoots and roots. The shoot apical meristem gives rise to the leaves, flowers, fruits, and height of the tree. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells that have the power to turn into any cell. For example, a human embryonic stem cell can differentiate into a blood cell, a neuron, a skin cell, any cell in our body. Apical meristematic cells operate the same way and can differentiate into a host of other cells in the plant. So what normally happens is water comes up from the roots, through the trunk, up to feed the apical meristems. As apical meristems grow, they divvy a set amount of cells to form a leaf bulb, which eventually differentiates into a leaf. Researchers didn't know the mechanism behind bonsai leaf miniaturization, but they had two theories. That bonsai leaves have the same amount of cells as normal leaves, but the cells are smaller.
Right, that the tree itself is being shrunk down on a cellular level.
Right.
Or
Or the cells were the same size, but there were just fewer of them. What do you think?
the second one.
The cells are smaller.
I think the cells are smaller?
Yeah, I'd say
Cells are
probably
small?
so. Yeah,
Ich
sounds
sage
Okay.
weniger.
I don't
Neither.
know, cell size.
No, there's gotta be one.
I
Okay.
would say probably I don't know.
50% chance.
50% chance I'll say 2. Just because.
Yeah, I'd say the second one.
Yeah.
To my surprise, the correct answer was the second one. In this paper written by Kerner and colleagues, it was discovered that not only were the cells the same size, in some cases they were larger than their normal counterparts. What made leaves miniature was the fact that there were fewer cells present in the leaf. The cutting of roots and lack of nutrients slows the growth rate of apical meristems, causing fewer cells to form a leaf bump, resulting in a smaller leaf. But it's just less of them.
Less of them to divvy up everything out.
Mhm.
That's impressive. I didn't know that at all.
What's amazing is these trees don't even know that they're making a miniature leaf. They're just growing and differentiating normally. Think of it like making cookies. The components are exactly the same. The only difference is that bonsais have less starting material. Researchers observed the greatest reduction of leaf area in broadleaf
Dann ist es ja schwierig, nicht so viele Nährstoffe zu geben, weil ansonsten ja alles kippt. Das so große Blätter bei so einem Baum.
trees, with one species becoming 50 times smaller, while their conifers only experience a 5 to 8 times reduction. Now, these tiny leaves are also accompanied by tiny little trunks, and that's because trunk size is a function of growth rate. The reasoning behind it is, why make a huge trunk if you're not transporting that much material? Small leaves need less water and nutrients. And we're also reducing the total amount of leaves on the tree. Giant sequoias can use up to 500 gallons of water per day, and that's why they're so big. But these little guys don't need that much, do they? Everything stays nice and pocket-sized.
Yeah, that's basically the way it works. I mean, glad to hear that, scientists think so too.
I'm gonna go do some research. I want to see, now I'm very intrigued.
Huh.
Oh.
It's awesome. I kind of want to make our bonsai tree come back to life. It's totally dead.
Now, I gotta say, after making this video, I have a brand new appreciation for bonsai.
Mini
I mean, I liked them
Kieferzapfen.
before, but now I
Geil.
love them. And throughout the process, I made my very first bonsai tree. And I think it turned out great. I can't stop looking at the thing. Although, I do have to say, I was surprised to see a subset of people who weren't as enthusiastic as myself when it came to bonsai.
I mean, to watch some of the things we do sometimes, yes, it does seem cruel. And I can only speak for me personally. I never do anything to a tree that I think is going to harm the health of the tree. To me, that's got to be number one.
Remember, the art of bonsai is mimicking nature. The twisting of the trunk and branches represent all the hardships a tree had to go through.
These trees grow in places where it's really strenuous. It's tough on them. 120 degrees, and no water for 6 months, snow, wind, whatever, and they survive. In a way, it's brutally beautiful.
And yet, these trees still grow in the face of adversity, and they do so perfectly. Bonsai show us that life can be beautiful within the struggle.
It's something that only Mother Nature can do. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can take tools and carve things and create deadwood and stuff, but we can't touch what Mother Nature can do.
Trees never ask for a lighter burden, only for broader shoulders.
Schwierig, gesagt.
Is there anything you want to let people know about bonsai?
Yeah, don't try to grow them indoors, and don't be afraid of them. They're just trees. Yeah, people ask me how much work is it, and I generally tell them that it's more work than a goldfish and less work than a kitten.
So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I do want to give a huge shout out to Kimura Bonsai, Bob and Diana. They were so nice. They showed me around. They talked for over an hour about bonsai, and I learned so much. And if you live in Southern California, please go and check them out if you want to learn about bonsai. They have classes there that are super affordable. I was even surprised by it. And they sell their bonsai as well. Also, it's a great date place. I mean, just walking around in a little nursery, whatever, you know, like, do your thing. So
Sweet.
please support small business. They absolutely know what they're doing. They're complete professionals. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is a huge landmark.